Welcome to our retirement, folks.
Morning.
Morning, everybody.
You drunk your coffee, darling?
I have, yeah.
Oh, good. Right.
Right. Well, yesterday I went and cleaned the car.
You did.
I don't know why I bothered, because it's not but rain forecast for the rest of the week.
Yeah, it's not good now.
And we've got to go out in it today, because yesterday when I cleaned the car, I went up to surgery and got the white topped vial for Pat's sample. And we're taking that back today. And we've also had a text from the surgery wanting Pat to make an appointment to see the doctor. But I still think they're chasing rainbows. I think that years ago in the 90s they were treating you for a urinary infection, and it wasn't that at all. And they seem to be doing the same thing again all these years later. It isn't a urine infection, it's something else.
No. I mean, I've had lots of antibiotics and I've still got it, whatever it is.
Yeah. But whether we're going to be able to get them to
they want me to make an appointment to see a doctor. Now, I don't know what that is for, whether it's for the urinary infection that they think
the diabetes.
The diabetes, and the were mention of my foot, weren't they? Because you have to be careful with your feet when you've got diabetes. And they thought my blood flow wasn't as good as it should be down to my foot. So they wanted me to have that seen to. But
you've got more serious issues
I've got things, different things going on, but whether they're all connected with my diabetes or whether it's individual things, I don't know. But when you go to doctors, you can only discuss one thing. So if they want to see you for one thing, you can't ask them about the other thing that's going on at the same time, can you? Well, they don't want you to. So whether I'm going to have to make 2 doctor's appointments, I don't know. But
to me, they're decorating the house while it's burning down.
I've got to go for another blood test, so that's up at. We've arranged that for Carvely.
That's next week.
Next week, haven't we?
Yeah, I've done that at Carvely.
He's sick of going to Westland.
Well, they keep losing stuff. Well, I think they say they're losing it. It ain't me that thinks they're losing it. It's they say they're losing them. So I thought I'll go to Carvely, see whether they can take a blood test without losing it. But I've been on Pat's records, medical records, and they've recorded a blood test.
Yeah.
Everything there, and they've said it's all clear.
All clear.
These blood tests, they don't tell you a thing.
No.
Because you're not right. You're not well. And these blood tests are not telling them that. Not revealing anything.
No, I had a particularly bad night last night. With it. We're up and down about 5 or 6 times to the toilet. Uncomfortable discomfort. So
I'll get something to happen one way or another.
Well, we've got to go up there today with the water sample, so we're going to ask about a doctor's appointment and find out a bit more, aren't we? Try anyway. Yeah, whether they'll tell you.
Well, I'm not hanging about
these receptionists.
if they're not gonna they're not going to do anything, then I shall go and see a private consultant.
Right.
Because I'm hanging about waiting for them.
Yeah. And Aletheia's got a friend here already. She's arrived. They're going to spend day together.
This college thing, this university thing, what's it all about?
I don't know.
She hasn't been all week.
No. No.
She's
done work at home. She's taken photographs here and done an essay type thing, hasn't she? So many words, and sent that in. But it all seems to be done from home at the moment. Because she didn't go in last week.
No.
And she hasn't been in this week.
Has she been in since Christmas? Once?
Yeah, once, I think.
One day, I think.
Yeah.
And this
Really
is
weird.
£9,000 a year, this.
Really weird.
Even when it's in full swing, it's only 2.5 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I asked Alethea why she hadn't been in this week, and she says because they've all got these projects that they've had to submit, and that there'll be hundreds of them, and they've got to mark them.
Oh. Right.
That's what she says.
Right. So we need the time to mark them. Got students there in college when you've got to do marking.
I've never known not like this.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. That's that.
Oh, we get what were you going to say?
I'm going to say, where did you get to in your...
In the story?
Yeah.
Well, there's still, I'm running the gallery, we're talking about, while I were at art college, I closed the gallery down.
Oh, and
we're
doing the band.
I'm doing the band. Also, there were a couple, they were only a young couple, and they came, and they made toys, wooden toys.
Brilliant, weren't they?
Yeah, they were really good. And they asked if they could use one of our rooms as a workshop. So they rented a room from us, and they were making the toys up there. They put some of them in at window, but they mainly went to craft fairs, didn't they? With them. And it's strange, but Rob and Sue they were called, and Sue's parents lived in Leeds. And that's where they were staying, because they'd sold their house, or they hadn't ever had a house.
I can't remember.
First one they bought a house. They told us they bought a house in Lincolnshire. And it was on a hill. Well, not many hills in Lincolnshire. But in the part of Lincolnshire where they had bought this house was hilly. And it's strange how things work out. But they called this, I said, whereabouts in Lincolnshire is it? He says, oh, it's called, is it Normanby by Spittle?
Is that where
Normanby by Spittle. Yeah. Never heard of it.
No.
So they stayed.
They were here about a couple of months, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't know how long precisely, maybe about 3 months.
Yeah.
I think I was still at college at the time. And I mean, our Tracy used to go up and watch them.
She was about maybe 7, wasn't she? 8?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
She might have been younger.
72, and this would have been about 79, 80. Yeah, she would have been about 7 or 8. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, they left after about a few months, and that would have been about 1980 thereabouts, and of course we moved to Lincolnshire in '84.
We never thought about them, did we, really, when we moved there?
No. And eventually, it was a long time after that. It must have been well into the 90s. And I had a customer in where? Normanby by Spittal, who was a piano teacher. And it turned out that she was teaching. And by that time, Sue and Rob had a couple of kids, and she was teaching one of Sue and Rob's kids, and they were up
on the hill
because they lived in the village at the bottom of the hill, and then there were like I had a customer who had a farm up there on the top there. I've told you about that customer. She used to bring me coffee and shortbread on a tray halfway through when I was tuning. And there were a book on their bookshelf called The Other Man's Farm.
Oh, yeah.
And it just so happened that when I'd left school and went farming, I used to watch The Other Man's Farm, and I remembered all the way back in the 60s, this farm being featured on The Other Man's Farm. TV programme, yeah. And that was at the top there in Normanby Spittal. So yeah, that were quite...
I think we actually met them again.
We did meet them, yeah. But they were still doing the toys.
Yeah, the craft fairs.
And doing the craft fairs,
I think he had a little workshop, didn't he, outside the house?
Yes, he did, yeah. And funnily enough, eventually, over time, Sue's man died, and her dad decided to come and live in Market Raisin.
Ah, yeah.
And he bought a little cottage it was like a secure complex thing.
Oh, yeah.
Did her dad. And he had a grand piano, and I used to go and tune
his piano.
His piano, yeah. So that was Sue's dad. Who came to live down there, and I finished up tuning his piano as well. Yeah, strange how things work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just one of the things that happened while we were running the gallery. Yeah. And I was going to tell you about a couple of you asked me about these happenings to describe
an happening.
What,
Are you going to do the one about
the what? The dancing turds. Dancing turds. Yeah, a guy called Diz Willis. He had a little theatre, a little puppet theatre, and he come and put on this show. And I remember he sang, he had these dancing turds.
They were bread rolls, really, weren't they?
Mother.
Yeah, I think so.
I've shit the bed again, never wanted to. What am I to do? Can't help it. And he gave us all these drinks while we were watching this puppet show.
It was basically a darkened room.
Yeah, it was. It was in a dark room.
He was lit up.
Yeah, yeah. And he had horse chestnut. You see them on streets.
Horse chestnut.
Roast chestnuts. It's like a coal-fired thing. They had one going in the basement gallery while all this was going on. So it did fill with smoke a bit. Did the place. And he gave us all these drinks.
I think it was a drink of cider, wasn't it? Something.
I don't know what it was. On the show.
Only a little drink.
And when he'd finished this thing, we had some chestnuts and we went to the pub straight after. And everybody were laughing at us in the pub. Well, we were laughing at one another when we got into the pub because we all had different coloured mouths. And this stuff he'd given us to drink, it had a dye in it.
Food colouring.
Food colouring in it.
We
Blue,
were red, blue,
yellow, green. Yeah.
Oh, we look right divvies.
Strange how it happened that Diz were at college with me as well. He were at art college, same time as I was. And he subsidised himself by selling roast chestnuts in Bradford. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And then there was...
This wasn't the one that did the pottery, was it?
No. Oh dear, I've forgotten his name now. I nearly went and said it. Yeah. Yeah, he did some nice pottery, that guy, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, I think my last piece that I got from him, my jug, I think it were in Camper.
Oh, were it?
Yeah.
I know we did
the
have
little brown jug.
that little brown jug.
Yeah, I had it years.
Yeah, it was a lovely little jug, that.
Yeah, it was just right size for.
Yeah, beautiful shape.
Yeah, and it had a glaze on it on the outside.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that jug over there were his as well.
That
white
one, right.
one, yeah, I think that was one of his.
That's referring to that jug in the corner there.
With spoons, wooden spoons and things.
That jug there.
Yeah, I think that was one of his.
All that time.
But Tracy got that and I got the little brown one.
We did have people who did sculptures and pottery.
Well, like I said, we had a sculpture in our front room when we had that little kitten.
Yeah, we did.
Thought all little stones at the bottom of the sculpture were cat litter.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
We had to stop it going on there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But there were one lot of a performance group that came, and they were really the girl. Look, do you know in Adam's Family what was Morticia? Remember Morticia?
Yeah, she was mother.
Yeah. Well, there were a girl in the group and who reminded me of Morticia because she had these coloured flowing clothes on and she had an umbrella and there were a parrot on a swing
underneath this umbrella.
She was walking around with this umbrella, a gay coloured umbrella with this parrot swinging on it.
She walked all the way down to canal and walked on the other side.
It had a right notoriety at our gallery in Rodley. They all thought we were crazy.
There was someone on the other side of canal all wrapped in newspaper once.
He sat on a chair. They put a video camera facing out from our bathroom kitchen window overlooking the canal, and this guy was being wrapped up in newspaper, and everybody was watching him on a TV screen being wrapped up in newspaper. And then he walked round through Rodley and up the street and came in through the front door while everybody were watching this TV thing. He appeared in the gallery all wrapped up in newspaper. Yeah, that was.
It might seem crazy now, but in them days that was the art world, wasn't it?
Yeah. The most dramatic one was when they nearly set fire to the place. the young sheets of newspaper up from the ceiling. And there were a guy, you know, these old the divers.
In a diving suit.
A diving suit with a bell, you know, the metal bell on your head. There were a guy in one of them, wasn't there?
stood in gallery
and he had
downstairs.
them weighted lead boots on, and he was laid on a bench, on a plank, went up against the wall when we went downstairs, and we were watching this girl that had the umbrella with the parrot, and she was downstairs sat on a stool, and her hair was spaghetti. And this guy was cutting it. It was a barber shop, and he was cutting her hair, and her hair was spaghetti. And then this guy that had been leant up against the wall on this plank, he had these candles in his hand.
Suddenly got up,
and he got up and he started walking round, and he set fire to these sheets of newspaper.
Oh dear.
It was absolutely amazing, really.
Yeah, but
Scary. Scary. Yeah. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, you would.
Yeah.
I think I were panicking, you were.
Yeah.
Thought it were good.
But eventually, as I entered into my third year at art college, the tutors were starting to get really aggravated by me because I'd refused to do this thesis. And there I were in my third year, and they didn't want to throw me out because I'd
done 2 years and
done well as far as they were concerned.
With the art.
Yeah. But they really wanted me to do this thesis, and what they didn't know that I was writing a book at the time about art education. I've said before, I called it a BA with honours, please take one, because that's what it said in the coffee machine, on the coffee machine in the common room at art college. Somebody had put that sticker over where you take the cup out. BA with honours, please take one. I thought it was hilarious, that. And to me, it just summed up art education, you know. So I was writing about art education, really. Anyway, in the end, they just peed me off so much that I came back here and I typed it up. This writing in this book. Went up to School of Humanities.
Handed it in.
I said, that's what you want. That's all you're going to get. And I give them it. And then at the end of the show, when you
put your work up, he refused to put any up.
I refused to show any of my work.
Consequently, he bit his nose off to spite his face because he didn't pass.
No, I didn't pass. Didn't get a degree.
Your degree, did
Big loss to my life.
You don't know.
Well, in whatever's happened to me in my life, in what way would I have been advantaged?
I don't know.
By having a degree, saying to someone, I've got a degree
in art.
In art.
All through that period of doing that, you were doing performances yourself because they were taking Mickey out of Inland Revenue by doing a performance with milk crates and bits of
milk crates. In the end, they fascinated me because they're perfectly square little compartments. You know, you look at a milk crate, milk crate. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are a dozen, isn't there? A dozen little square boxes, all exactly the same size. And I saw them as an analogy
Compartments.
for compartmentalisation, that we're all put in little boxes. And it had a massive influence on my paintings and a poem. I mean, the poem, because I used to incorporate milk crates and climbing frames, because that was another one, where there were all the climbing frames in the parks were all the same shape and size and colour.
They all just appeared in a short period of time,
They
didn't
did.
they?
It's as though the council suddenly decided they were going to they'd bought all these climbing frames from this contractor and they were going to put them in all parks, and they were all the same shape. And that's when I wrote a poem called Climbing Frames. A lot of you will have heard it, but I'll tell you it again now, for them that haven't heard it. There are climbing frames in all our parks, and they are built at night when it gets dark. Built by men who think that we should play in uniformity. They are built at night on certain sites by people you never see. You'll just arrive one day and there it is where the slide should be. And then all the children in the parks will play in just the same way, in preparation for that fateful day when life becomes work instead of play. And then we shall be the men you see who build the frames that have to be put in the parks where the slide should be, just so that you can behave like me. But surely this can't be true, for I don't behave like you. Or maybe I do. And that the milk crates reminded me of
the climbing frames.
Of the climbing frames and the compartmentalisation of us all, you know. And I remember, do you remember when I went, I told you I met, Martin Bates. He was a tutor at Wakefield College of Art. Well, he invited me to go across and give a talk. I don't know whether I went once or twice. And they had a dance. And I went to this dance and I tied a milk crate to me. I had a belt round my waist and I tied a milk crate to it. And I was dragging this milk crate, like Marley's ghost, how he dragged them chains. Well, I dragged this milk crate around with me, because that was, once again, like a statement. The compartmentalisation, I'm dragging it round with me like Marley's ghost dragged his chains. And I dragged it round in this dance hall. Yeah.
I didn't go. I stayed at home.
Pat didn't like she. Pat was bemused by all this, wasn't you, Pat?
Yeah.
Pat was just being Pat while all this is going on. What were you doing, Pat?
At that time?
Can you remember what you did?
I did. I think I were... No, I wasn't still working at Pleasure Drome, were I?
I know you
I went
to that nursing home.
Oh, yes.
Now,
yes.
You were doing that when I were at college, weren't you?
Yeah, because...
The Inland Revenue started taking
money off of me.
You to get at me. To
get at Trevor. They said it were to pay his...
It must have been before art college then, because while I was at art college, by the time I went to art college, by the time I went to art college, Dick had sorted the stuff out, and I were paying them back.
That was just before, wasn't it?
So it would have been before.
Yeah. I wanted to get into nursing home then. So I started doing Meals on Wheels with a voluntary company who were in Farsley.
Yeah.
And I'd go around with their driver and take the meals into anybody who wanted them, like older people. And I quite enjoyed that. But I didn't drive, so I always had to go with a driver. And then I'd take the meals into the house. And then I eventually did that for a while, and then I started doing another voluntary bit where I went out on an evening, and I went to people who were in their own homes who couldn't do things for themselves. They used to send people out, and I started doing that. And I went to one poor old chap, and he was in bed, and he'd wet himself, and we were told never to do all like that. Oh, we were there just to provide a bit of supper and make sure they were all right, but not to change beds or do anything with the patient.
Make sure they're all right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I couldn't leave him. I couldn't leave him all night in a wet bed, so I changed it and put him a new nightshirt on. And I got reprimanded for that. So I gave that up. I thought, well, if you can't do a basic help somebody like that, you know, what was it all about?
Yeah.
So then I got in at the old people's home, didn't I? And I worked there for quite a while. Well, I must be a pushover, me, because there were a lady there who'd been there quite a while, an older lady, and for some reason she took a dislike to me. So any chance she had at having a dig at me, she would do.
The reason why she didn't like you was because you would do things
that want my job.
Because you saw that things weren't right and needed doing, so you did them.
Yeah.
And they didn't like it. The other women didn't like it.
No, they didn't like you interfering with
their
routines.
So conscientious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody wants to go to the toilet, you don't make them sit there for 5-10 minutes while you've finished your other job. You go straight to them and take them to the toilet, otherwise they might wet themselves. You know, but they didn't like that.
No.
And then, as I said, then at this particular time, I was only getting about 23 £23 for working a 40-hour week. And, I mean, it was hard work, changing beds and, you know, lifting people up.
She used to pong
when I come home.
When she come home.
Because I'd sweat. Because you have to have it warm in old people's homes. And I used to sweat cops. And they started taking, I think did they take £13 off it or something?
Yeah, it was about
And I said, well, I'm not working a 40-hour week for £13 or less, £10.
Yeah.
So I quit.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not working 40 hours for
there's no
£10.
point you working if they're just going to take it off your intact.
Yeah.
So,
to pay Trevor's tax off. So I gave that up. Oh dear, I've done loads of jobs. Loads.
Yeah, you have.
And that's why I never...
Pleasure Grove.
Yeah, was that after?
Well, that when you were at college, when I were at college, or afterwards, might have been afterwards. You worked at the Pleasure Drome.
I worked at the Pleasure Drome until we moved to Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
So I was there.
Yeah. That was one-arm bandit place and a bingo hall. Yeah. But they had a little cafeteria in there as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
And you used to clean. And then you started working behind cafeteria, didn't you?
Yeah.
Serving. Yeah,
I think I was working behind cafeteria. No, I was doing some cleaning there, and then I started working behind cafeteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you did out in bingo.
No, that was another lady's domain.
Yeah.
But there were different people on.
So that's the things that Pat were doing while I were doing my thing, that Pat were doing her thing.
Yeah, lots of different things.
35 minutes.
We've gone over, mate. There you go.
All right, folks.
Better go see to Ernie. I can hear him scratching around in there.
Aye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.